My name is Madeline and this is my audiovisual presentation for Food and Societies. So this is my case study, Hui. He's 40 years old, he's a male, he was born in Vietnam, most of his family members still live in Vietnam, and he speaks Vietnamese and limited English. So Vietnam is located on the east coast of Southeast Asia, and here's a map of Vietnam including its major cities, and Hui was born in Vietnam and he migrated to Australia by boat. Historical influences on Vietnamese culinary practices. So the Chinese had a big influence on the Vietnamese cuisine, including introducing foods such as the wonton, mooncake, and also char siu pork. The French also influenced the cuisine with foods such as the baguette, a range of different vegetables, and also coffee. Current Vietnamese culinary practices. So staple foods eaten in Vietnam include foods such as rice, which is eaten at most meals, and also dishes based on vegetables, meat, and seafood. Supplementary foods include foods such as noodles, street food, and also a range of tropical fruit. So in terms of seasoning foods, a range of different herbs and spices are used, such as coriander, lemongrass, Asian basil, Vietnamese mint, star anise, and cinnamon. Also foods such as garlic, ginger, fish sauce, soy sauce, and lime and chili are used to flavour foods. Cooking techniques in Vietnam include frying, such as stir frying, steaming, stewing, and grilling. In the north of Vietnam, food is often simplistic, less herbs and spices are used and it's less spicy. In central Vietnam, food is colourful, well presented, spicy, and lots of small dishes are used. And in southern Vietnam, food is sweeter, lots of herbs and spices are used, and there's great diversity amongst different dishes. So Buddhism is followed by many people in Vietnam. Many monks adhere to a vegetarian diet, and some Buddhist Vietnamese choose not to eat meat on the first and middle days of the lunar month, so foods such as tofu and vegetable stir fry are often consumed. On special occasions, such as Vietnamese Lunar New Year, food preparation is done prior to the event, so foods such as sticky rice cake, pickled onions, and caramelized pork are often consumed. And just some unusual foods eaten in Vietnam weasel dung coffee, crickets, which are often fried, and snake meat. Agriculture, farming, and fishing. So foods exported from Vietnam include seafood, coffee, cashew nuts, rice, pepper, fruits, and vegetables. So foods imported include meat, dairy products, processed foods, and also wine. Consumption of key commodities. So to begin with, rice consumption in Vietnam is much higher than in Australia, and this is to be expected as rice is consumed at most meals in Vietnam and it's their major carbohydrate source. Soybean consumption is also quite a bit higher in Vietnam compared to Australia, and this is probably due to their high use of foods such as tofu, particularly amongst those following a vegetarian diet. Fish and seafood consumption is quite similar in both countries, and this may be due to the fact that both countries have borders that have access to the sea, so availability is quite high. And lastly, wheat consumption in Australia is much higher than Vietnam, and this is because wheat products are often our major carbohydrate source compared to rice in Vietnam. Migration of Vietnamese to Australia. Migration began following the Vietnam War. The first boat arrived in 1976, and by 1981, more than 12,000 Vietnamese-born immigrants lived in Victoria. Many of these immigrants set up small businesses such as restaurants, and today over 68,000 Victorians were born in Vietnam. Vietnamese influence on food culture in Australia. So there's been many sources of exposure to Vietnamese food in Australia, and these include Vietnamese restaurants, TV shows such as Luke Nguyen's Vietnam, and it's also a popular travel destination for Australians, and this is an image here of me when I was in Vietnam with my family a few years ago. Vietnamese food in Australia is becoming increasingly popular, including as a fast food option such as rolled. Also in Asian fusion restaurants such as Chin Chin's in the city. And Vietnamese ingredients are now readily available in supermarkets and specialty grocers, including fruit. Thanks for watching.